What should you do if a police officer or a federal agent suddenly asks to see your guns? Most gun owners are confident they follow the law, but the moment law enforcement shows up, whether it's a simple traffic stop or a knock at your front door, everything changes. Your words, your movements, your tone, and even your silence can have legal consequences. And with firearm laws becoming more complicated across states, thousands of responsible Americans get into legal trouble not because they did anything wrong, but because they didn't know how to respond correctly. Today, you're going to learn the 5 most important tips every gun owner needs when dealing with police or ATF requests. These tips apply whether you're at home, driving, transporting firearms, or simply being questioned. Understanding your 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights can make the difference between a normal encounter and a life-changing legal battle. So let's break down the exact steps to protect yourself, stay calm, and avoid mistakes that officers are trained to take advantage of. Tip 1. When police or ATF show up at your home. Imagine hearing a knock at the door. You check and there's an officer or ATF agent standing there. They say they're following up on a record showing you recently purchased multiple firearms. They want to verify that you still possess them. They may claim it's just routine or that they only need a quick look. This is where many gun owners panic. But before you do anything, understand this. You do not have to open the door. Your home is the strongest constitutional protection you have. Under the 4th Amendment, the government cannot enter or search your home without legal authority. Officers can only enter if 1. You consent. 2. They have a valid search warrant. 3. They have a valid arrest warrant. 4. There are exigent circumstances, evidence destruction, emergency, active crime. If none of these exist, the officer or agent has zero authority to enter, and you should not open the door. Even talking through the door can expose you. Law enforcement officers are trained to look behind you through cracks, windows, and reflections. Anything they see in plain view can be used to justify further action. If they see a firearm on a table, ammunition, accessories, or anything unusual, they may try to claim probable cause. The safest method? Do not open the door. Do not engage in conversation. Do not explain anything. Simply say through the door, "I do not wish to speak. Do you have a warrant?" If they say they do, tell them to slide it under the door. This is your legal right. A real warrant must be physically shown before they can force entry. What about NFA firearms? This is where misinformation spreads. Owning NFA regulated items like suppressors, SBRS, or machine guns does not give a TF the right to inspect your home at any time. When you submit Form 1 or Form 4, you are not waiving your constitutional protections. You don't surrender your 4th Amendment rights just because the firearm is regulated. There is no law that requires owners of NFA items to allow random home inspections. Pressure tactics are common. Officers may say things like, "Let's do this the easy way. If you don't show me, I'll just get a warrant. It'll only take a minute." These strategies are designed to make you comply voluntarily. Do not fall for it. If they truly had probable cause for a warrant, they would already be executing it. If they present a warrant, once you confirm it's legitimate, open the door, step aside, and stay silent. You are not required to answer questions during a warranted search. You may state, "I do not consent to any search outside the scope of the warrant. I choose to remain silent," and you don't have to say another word. What if they suspect you're a prohibited person? Even if they believe you shouldn't possess firearms, they still cannot enter your home without a warrant. Being silent and refusing entry does not give them probable cause. Your silence is your protection. Tip 2. When you're pulled over with a firearm in the vehicle, traffic stops are where gun owners make the most mistakes. You may be pulled over for something simple, a tail light, speeding, seatbelt, rolling stop. But the moment the officer starts approaching, everything changes if there is a firearm in the vehicle. First rule, stay calm and keep your hands visible. Place both hands on the steering wheel. Do not reach for anything unless asked. Fast movements like reaching under your seat, leaning across the console, searching for documents, can all be interpreted as furtive movements. Officers use this term frequently to justify searches and detentions. Even innocent gestures might be written in a report as "suspect reached suddenly toward the floorboard," which they can claim made them fear for their safety. Provide only what is required. Driver's license, insurance, registration if required by your state. Remain polite, but remember, you are not required to answer questions. If the officer asks, "Are there guns in the car?" "Where are you coming from?" "Where are you headed?" Have you had anything to drink? You can simply say, I choose to remain silent, and if your state has a duty to inform law, follow that requirement and nothing more. In all other states, silence is your strongest legal shield. Never argue roadside. If you believe the stop was unfair or mistaken, argue later in court, not on the curb. Officers are trained to escalate based on tone, frustration, or body language. Your calmness is your advantage. Tip 3. Never consent to a search. This is the biggest mistake gun owners make. Officers may say, mind if I take a quick look? It'll help me get you on your way faster. If you have nothing to hide, why not let me check? These are not commands. They are requests, and you are legally protected to say no. Say this clearly. I do not consent to any searches. Why is this so important? Because consent overrides your Fourth Amendment protections. If you say yes, they can search anywhere. They can tear apart your interior. They can remove panels and seats. They can seize items. Anything they find can be used against you, even if they go beyond the scope of what you think you allowed. Courts often rule in the officer's favor because of your consent. Some officers use psychological methods. If you refuse, some will say things like, why refuse if you're innocent? This makes you look suspicious. Only guilty people say no. These are intimidation tactics. Legally, refusing a search cannot be used against you in court. Courts have repeatedly ruled that the exercise of a constitutional right is not evidence of guilt. What if the officer searches anyway? Do not resist physically. Say, I do not consent, but I am not resisting. Let your lawyer fight the search later. Illegal searches are often thrown out, but only if you don't physically interfere. Tip 4. Ask, am I free to go? This is one of the most powerful legal questions you can use. At some point during the traffic stop, if the officer keeps stalling, questioning, or dragging out the interaction, calmly ask, am I free to leave? This question forces the officer to declare the nature of the interaction. If the officer says yes, say nothing more, leave calmly. If the officer says no, you are now detained, and the stop must meet the legal standard of reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Officers cannot prolong a stop indefinitely just to look for potential crimes. Supreme Court rulings state, once the purpose of the stop is resolved, the officer must let you go unless new legitimate grounds exist. By asking the question, you protect yourself, you create a clear legal moment, you help your attorney argue unlawful detention, and if they continue questioning you after you say you want to leave, simply repeat, I do not consent to searches. I choose to remain silent. This is the shield that protects you in court. Tip 5. If detained or arrested, say these words. If an officer tells you that you are detained, or if they escalate to an arrest, do not panic. You still have powerful constitutional rights. Immediately say, I am exercising my right to remain silent. Now, I want to speak to a lawyer. These two statements activate your 5th and 6th Amendment protections. Officers cannot legally continue questioning you after you invoke your rights. Police are not required to read you Miranda rights unless they plan to question you while in custody. Many people mistakenly wait for officers to read them their rights, but that moment may never come. Invoke your rights immediately and stop talking. Silence cannot be misquoted. Silence cannot be twisted. Silence cannot incriminate you. Anything else can. How to survive any encounter legally. So can police or ATF demand to see your guns? At home, only with a warrant, arrest authority, or true emergency. Otherwise, do not open the door. Do not consent. Do not speak. Ask to see the warrant. In your vehicle, only with consent or probable cause. Otherwise, keep hands visible. Stay calm. Don't argue. Don't make sudden movements. Don't answer probing questions. If detained, invoke your rights immediately. I choose to remain silent. I want a lawyer. So if questioned, am I free to go? I do not consent to any searches. These phrases aren't just legal lines, they're your shield, because owning a firearm responsibly doesn't end with training at the range. It means knowing your rights, your boundaries, and your power in the face of authority. When that moment comes, a knock on your door, lights in your mirror, or a question you weren't expecting, you won't need to panic, guess, or plead. You'll already know what to say. You'll already know what not to do. And most importantly, you'll walk away with your rights protected and your record clean. Use these 5 tips. Stay calm, stay silent, stay smart, and above all, stay free.
Listen.